All right, construction champions, it's your host, Ron Nussbaum, and we're here on the Construction Champions podcast where we're blowing the roof off of what does it mean to be in the construction industry. Every week we get together, we talk with leaders, we talk with disruptors within the construction industry, and today, it's just like every other day here. We're joined with Chris. I'm super excited to have you on the show today.
Appreciate it, Rob. Hey, it's a pleasure, man.
Awesome. Well, hey, Chris, why don't you tell all the construction champions out there a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, so I started in the construction industry 10 years ago, and I was in the facilities maintenance space. We did remodels, new construction, all types of stuff for retail stores across the US. So worked my way up, cut my teeth doing all sorts of things, project management, project coordination, and really started being in the in-person development scene here in Atlanta, Georgia, in commercial demolition and environmental. So a lot of people like to see things getting blown up, and that's we showed it in person and on social media. So met a bunch of people in that space from the real estate side, municipality side, and for all the mid-sized to large contractors in the area, many of which are regional, national, but I saw the construction side, the real estate side, and all the associations and seminars and conferences that were in between. And then we went ahead and created the Triple C, the Contractors, Closers, and Connections in 2019, about 5 years ago now. And essentially what I do is I'm the president and founder. We have 10 national chapters now, Atlanta being the first, and we bring professionals together in 5 primary verticals of development, management, brokerage, investment, and construction. So we're the perfect balanced organization with construction and real estate all in one forum.
I love it, and I love what you guys are doing there. You guys put on fabulous events. It's one of the reasons I'm super excited to talk today. So
Thank you.
I'm gonna dive right into it, and I'm gonna ask you the $1 million question, and that is, what makes a construction champion?
Yeah, and I know you'd asked me that question before. I had some time to think on it, and what I was thinking is that a construction champion is really somebody who comes to the table with the right intentions, to be a good human being, and really that if somebody had to pin down, it's almost an intangible, but it's not. So within the CCC, that's what I believe sets us apart is passion, knowledge, experience, all that sort of stuff. It's combined into one. And I don't care if somebody's an introvert or extrovert or whatever society has labeled them or what they labeled themselves. It becomes evident when somebody's very passionate about their projects and their work. And in my forum and my day to day, when we're hosting these events, these large scale forums where we're bringing individuals together of respective verticals and trades and all that sort of thing, it's just very evident when somebody wants to talk and lend value and educate upon their subject matter, whether it's real estate development or what folks should be investing in, or what goes on in the day-to-day of a property management professional, and there's so much to learn. Really a big part of our organization is brokerages, and not just from leasing aspects, but from tenant representation, from landlord representation, capital markets, and investment sales. We pretty much fill the gamut of those respective positions, but not only that, the asset types from industrial, mixed use, healthcare, hospitality, senior living, petroleum. It's really a testament to our leadership team here in the Atlanta area and other chapters. There are founders of chapters that are from the contracting space, that are from the design space, and like you had said before, it can come from multiple places, but we all have to be in alignment so that we can help each other get deals done.
I love that. And so what I'm hearing there is what you're telling me is contractors can network.
They can, but you got to ask the right questions, and it's funny. I think I want to say that the engineers and the architects. I know you said we're going to rip off the Band-Aid today, but those individuals are funny. You have to kind of peel them back like an onion sometimes. But I've learned to ask the right questions and get to the meat and potatoes really quickly with them. And in our forum, we're not membership based. Reason we did that is because if somebody's non-value add and they're not willing to reciprocate and be of a giving servant leader nature, we really don't need them at CCC. And they're not doing themselves good. They're not doing anybody else good. If they're just coming and saying, give me these leads and opportunities, it's best to say, look, we're an architect. We just did a feasibility study for a hospitality group looking to come into the Atlanta MSA. And they ask us, we understand you guys are a commercial real estate and development centric forum. How can we get a developer on this particular site, for the 150 keys or whatever it is of a, 3-4 star hotel? If they give us that sort of a curated question, we can really help. But if you're coming to the table otherwise, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, you take a bunch of different, so you take real estate, engineers, contractors, and you bring them all in a group and you facilitate that conversation between groups that typically, I mean, to just put it lightly, don't get along very well most of the time. They don't have a whole lot of good to say about each other. So that's awesome. And I love how you talk about it. It's that passion that gets that going. It's when somebody brings passion to the table.
Yeah, and it's a large problem, and it's not even their personal fault, because the United States and our industries in general always had a contractor organization. That's where you go. Here, it just sort of made sense in a conceptual way, but when you really think about it, it doesn't, because these individuals all have an input that's valuable. And architecture, they have their own association, and they have value in some respects, that they provide continued education and this, that, and the other. Really, CCC is a boiled down and a funneled sort of place where people just come to talk business. It's not about who had the most energy efficient building this year, who was the most popular person that got voted on the stage. That's not what we're about. We want everybody to win. And if I get leads all the time, very interesting inquiries of building factories and expansions and all sorts of folks moving from place to place. And it might come from a painter. It could come, the other one of a restaurant the other day in Atlanta came from a low voltage subcontractor. And he said, well, this restaurant owner, it's not his first run, but with the way that the banks are right now, lending is difficult, especially in restaurants and things like that. So they came to us to say, how can we help this owner so that we can finish our jobs and get this thing funded? And so we reached out to a bunch of our private capital sources, and were able to get millions of dollars put into that deal. And everybody was happy, and everybody was able to finish their work and bring a new business to the community.
So truly figuring out a way
Full spectrum.
for everybody to work together and come together to create a win for that client. It's not necessarily, it's a win for that electrician, but it's really a win for that restaurant owner that now can get that project finished up, which then that contractor can continue doing their work, get paid, so they can pay their employees, they can continue to put food on the table. You're creating an environment where people can work together like that. And to me, that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we feel good about it. It happens on a regular basis. We were just on a conference with New York, one of our new chapters, and there were some testimonial stories that were quite powerful. Just people that typically you would say, all right, well, you're in hotel development. Is that how we can best serve you? Is show you more sites in hotels, or find equity partners, or better debt placements? And they said, no, actually something completely different. We want a 1031 exchange where we need to roll an investment into a value add investment sale, retail strip center. We need the best retail team in Atlanta, quick, pronto. And we did that. And within 1 week, they found themselves a deal and were able to gain the tax benefits out of that deal. So, I mean, there's just, can't even count the number of, things that we do. And we're also connecting instantaneously chapters with one another, because deals, money, a lot of these opportunities transcend state lines. That's just an arbitrary border. It's really, how far are you willing to travel? Or, we can have investors domestically or internationally come into some of these projects, as long as the numbers shake out right. So those conversations can go on day after day.
Yeah, it's truly the rooms you're in. We talk about that a lot on Construction Champions here, because I think being in the construction industry, a lot of times we feel like those rooms aren't built for us, but they are. And we should be there because that's how you get involved in these deals and make shit happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's really and I did that. You know, I'm a testimonial to that. When I was in the demolition business, then in the general contracting business, I was one of the only ones that cared to jump into the brokerage forums because it was so interesting to me. They each one of these brokers and agents had their own complete book of business that might pertain to specialties and medical, industrial, whatever it have you. And understanding that they were always in the middle of something, if you just keep yourself in front of them and say, we want to just be a resource on budgeting and schedules and all these important things so you can submit to your investors and stakeholders and banks and all these sorts of entities uh, at that stage of the game. You know, it's very important. And yeah, again, it's the industry is segmented. People, I would encourage if you were a roofer or you were somebody who has electric vehicle charging stations or something like that, just immerse yourself and be uncomfortable and jump in as many real estate centric groups as possible because they're going to notice you and they're going to keep your cards and keep you part of their preferred vendor programs, you know. And a lot of times it's just not being done. They're going to other construction forums and it's more of a secondary tertiary type connection if one is made, and it makes your life a lot more difficult.
Yeah, and it's been my experience with networking before. It's like what you said, like they're out looking for this. They want those connections. We just
Yeah.
had Corton on here a couple episodes ago. He's built a restoration company. He'll do $1.5 million this year off of just refers. No marketing, just going out and building relationships, which is what you're talking about doing and being proactive about it instead of being reactive. So you've been in the middle of this. You came out of that box. Now you watch guys do this at a high level. What are the things that the construction champions out there can go do to help them be better at this? Or to just
Yeah.
be uncomfortable faster?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned exactly what I was going to hit on next is social media, man. You know, I mean, you do a good job with that, getting the message out. Got to be consistent. It's got to be appealing, exciting. You know, showcase their work, projects, and clients, and that sort of stuff. And really, you have to make it just as important as a homework assignment that you would do, like going to the gym, right? It's a discipline, and so we coach our chapters to actually go in, build your personal brand, especially on LinkedIn, because you sort of know who you're targeting. You can filter by we want professionals in Atlanta that are in real estate and construction, whatever you're going after, architects, and build that base because LinkedIn will allow for approximately 100 connections per week on your personal, 400 per month, even more, 250 on your company page. So if you're building your personal and your company page, you're putting out good content and you're gaining followers. That's just the easiest way to stay in front of people. You can't be 1,000 places at once, but if you have a strong brand, like you said, the referral network and all the business comes to you. They'll start to know you as an authority figure and somebody who really knows framing or knows concrete or something like that. So got to build a brand.
So with building a brand, you not only build a brand, then you built an environment for that brand. So not you guys aren't in every city out there. What are the construction champions that aren't where your program's at? What do they go do? What would you recommend, or what did you do, I guess would be the best question, because you did it and then you built what you needed.
Right. I mean, so I think it's important just you got to find people who are like-minded and your passion. It all sort of goes back to that. Who is number one? So I usually when I make an introduction, I go with a three-pronged process. It's what do they do, right? Who are we targeting? Are they in real estate, construction, whatever? What is their position at the company? If they're in real estate, are they a development manager? Are they acquisitions professional? What do they do? Part three, the most exciting part that I filter through, their personalities, right? Do they have the right energy? Are they going to get along with each other if we make this introduction, so I go through that process. I think that's important to curate that, to make a short list is what I call it, and you asked what to do first. It would be wherever you've built those relationships, whether it's previously over time or new relationships that you're going to with particular forums. I would search for, real estate, construction, architecture, municipality sort of meetings that are going on in your local city. Go out to them, build the relationships and bird dog people from that, build a database. And then if you feel like those people are advantageous to your future business, invite them to your own mixer, right? Or, tell them, hey, there's another great mixer in town going on. Perhaps you would find value in coming along with me and meeting these people, so you got to be a leader. You can't just always just tag on the coattails of others. I mean, and not everybody's built that way, but again, I think the most simple thing that you could do is just go to other things that are already established and really try to meet some interesting decision makers and be active about the outreach process on LinkedIn. Even if it's, again, it's much like working out, even if you put a 15-minute reminder in and you search through those folks who have now become your connections on LinkedIn, you reach out to enough of them. It's just a numbers game where people are going to hear you out and find value in what you do. And some of them may have active projects that need you right now, or they're projects that are coming into the pipe. And relationships are always falling down and people are changing within these organizations. So you can't just make that overgeneralization like, oh, we've dealt with them before. We know everybody there. And this relationship is not going to work because of X reason. And my counterparts at previous positions used to say that. You can't generalize. You always got to keep in front of people, stay top of mind.
I love it, man. It's amazing. And you're a master networker. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you are. And your intention, when you laid out the three, like the intention, when you connect somebody all the way down to the personality, like you truly want to set people up for a win. And I think like that's how we should be looking at this. Like we get out there and how are we helping others win? Because like you said, you never know when something's going to go sideways on a project or somebody's going to need your help. I think as an industry, if we were more willing to just be a sounding board, like when I was out in the daily grind, especially in sales, like I would meet with real estate agents. I'd spend time and guys would say, why are you wasting your time out there? There's nothing that comes from that. And I'm like, well, you might think that right now, but like I'm a sounding board here. Like they're gathering the data. I'm becoming such a trusted advisor that when the time comes, they're not going to do business with anybody else because I was willing to be there, build those relationships, and it pays tenfold. I've seen it happen so many times, not just personally, but for others. That then year after year after year, once that, well, it's not ripping the Band-Aid off, but once you finally get that reputation and you get in there, it just flows. And then they introduce you to everybody they know.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Two parts of that. When I was first starting out, my competition a lot of times didn't want to show up to the job site, and I was dressed, nicely. I showed up, I was there, and answered any questions. We gave them a prompt bid, and they could always count on you. And why would they want to go anywhere else? And the second thing is, I forget.
No, it's all good. But that's like what you just said about having that prompt bid, and then when they're dealing with their customers, they're going to be like, hey, you should do business with Chris. Like, I know Chris. Like, I don't know your guy, or I don't know these, we had to get 3 bids. They might be lower or higher, or you might be the highest bid, but that relationship you built is what's going to lead to having that impression with that customer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember what I was going to say. It was about the ability to ask for help. And I remember this was 7 years ago, and I really saw the value of why I was doing all this. Like you said, why are people would question you, why are you meeting with all these people, spending all this time and resources? And it all came down to one moment, and I had to be ready for that. And luckily I was. And it was an industrial developer that does truck and terminals and logistics and fleet maintenance type of stuff. they were out of Chicago and they came into Atlanta, and we demolished half of this trucking terminal that needed to be rid. And they were about to leave. We were done with the transaction. It was a fine job. They wired the money, and they said, "Thank you, Chris." And I extended my hand. And then I looked over at their building, and I said, "You know what, Tom? There's something wrong about that building. It's sagging. You're going to need a structural engineer. Somebody's got to shore that up before your tenant comes in." And they said, "Well, do you know somebody?" And I said, "Well, as a matter of fact, I do." And so, I became a resource on that day, and I'd been networking very heavily for 2 or 3 years to know who that exact structural engineer was going to be. That turned into who is your roofer in Atlanta, because these guys weren't local. So I became their guy, and it eventually built enough trust and permission to say, "Look, I need to meet more folks like you. Can you introduce me to more of your industrial pals?" And that's where I really started getting my feet wet with all these industrial people in the industry that were developing and acquiring and owning facilities and things like that. So you have to be able to ask for help and be comfortable with that.
Yeah, and that's I think where we kind of trip up a lot of times, because we're big construction workers and just we're here to get the job done. But sometimes you just need to say, "Hey, I need some help with this," or like, "How can I help?" Or, "Hey,
Yeah.
is there anything I can do to, I know this project went amazing. What would have took it to the next level?" When you're working with these high leveraged networks where you're building these relationships, is like, what's that next step? What's that 13-star review, as Brian Chesky from Airbnb would say? Like, what is that? How do we deliver that? So then the next time the phone only rings for you.
Yeah, you don't want to be the only person. You want to be able to have a team and folks that can share a bit of the weightlifting, because then you don't really have a business or a network or anything if it's just you. And that makes you much more valuable, especially when it comes to people that are funding deals. They know it's not just one equity partner. It's a multitude of different limited partners, general partners, institutional lenders, and without the team sport and a mitigation of risk, nothing gets done. Nobody should be taking on the entire weight of a project, or hey, that particular trade held up the entire job. It's sometimes it's true, but yeah.
Well, yeah, especially right now where capital is, it seems like there's a lot of it, and it seems like there's not. It's just an ebb and flow to it. You want to be around the people that are writing the checks.
Yeah, and and that's a big thing right now. Like you said, there's a lot of naysayers and people that really don't understand the market, or they just have a certain perspective on it. But the people who I speak with, they're pretty excited for the ability for the savvy investments. Maybe let's just say it's not even new development of commercial properties or residential, but there's a wonderful opportunity for folks who've been holding onto some money and want to grab properties that will be coming available. And there are certain uses for them that will be granted zoning, and all sorts of different plays that the creative folks have been wanting to do for a long time, but the numbers didn't make sense in this sort of overinflated market. So corrections happen, good markets happen. People just have to be prepared for that.
Awesome. And that's why you want to be in the room with them. That's why you
Yes.
created the room for people to be in. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Hey, it has been fantastic having you on the show today. If anybody wanted to connect with you, reach out to you, learn about what you guys do, or come to an event, where's the best places for them to find you?
Yeah, so we have a great website where you can see all of our chapters. You can reach out to the chapter you want to speak with. Our website is www.contractorsclosersconnections.com. Contractorsclosersconnections.com. CCC wasn't available.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you. Y'all take care.
All right, construction champions, another fire episode where we went over networking and what does it take to be highly connected in your city. What I learned was that contractors can network, builders can network. We just have to get out of our comfort zone and go do it, because it will create not just an influx of deals, but it will create the relationships that lead to the deals and jobs that you want. Think about that. Is that where you create a relationship with people and they understand what you do at a level that you understand it. So when their projects come up that are you're perfect for, they're going to reach out to you. So not only are you building relationships, you're building your ideal project relationship as well. And then you just start getting a funnel of that coming in. That's all networking. That's all it is. And here we are on another episode where LinkedIn comes up. I'm telling you, if you're not on LinkedIn as a contractor, a builder, a home service provider, you're missing the boat. Nowadays, the trades dominate LinkedIn. I don't think people think of it, but we really do. Episode after episode of Construction Champions, it has been said on here. Get on LinkedIn. I'm going to say it again. Get on LinkedIn. If you're not, look in the mirror and really ask yourself, why are you not on LinkedIn? So, Construction Champions, make sure you go out, you check out all of our partners on our website and in the show notes. They're here to support the show and keep us rocking and rolling so we can be the champions we were meant to be.